Tonight, as you rest your head on the pillow, allow me to guide you into the mysterious heart of Zen Buddhism, what masters call the religion of no religion. No prior knowledge needed. Simply breathe and let your mind drift as ancient wisdom washes over you like gentle waves. This is no ordinary sleep meditation. The secrets of Zen have transformed millions of lives for centuries, quieting anxious minds, dissolving stress, and revealing profound peace hidden in plain sight. Many discover their deepest sleep ever on their very first night. As your body relaxes, we'll explore how to release the thoughts keeping you awake, find freedom from suffering, and discover the extraordinary magic in ordinary moments. These timeless teachings speak directly to your deepest self, beyond all backgrounds and beliefs. Let's begin this journey together. The unique approach of Buddhism. Buddhism stands apart from other major world traditions in a fundamental way. While many religions center around belief in God, souls, or sacred texts, Buddhism takes a different approach. The Buddha didn't ask his followers to have faith in things they couldn't verify. Instead, he invited them to explore their own experience, to see for themselves the nature of reality. When the Buddha was asked about metaphysical questions, about God, about the afterlife, about the beginning of the universe, he often remained silent or responded with a story or question that redirected attention to the present moment. As one story goes, two young priests once debated the best path to union with Brahma, the Hindu creator god. They approached the Buddha for his opinion. He simply asked, "Has anyone, back to the 7th generation of teachers, seen Brahma with their own eyes?" When they admitted no one had, the Buddha declared their goal laughable, vain, and empty. This wasn't because the Buddha denied the existence of gods entirely. Rather, he taught that such beliefs were ultimately irrelevant to the path of liberation. Buddhism acknowledges the existence of many gods, or devas, but these beings, while powerful and long-lived, are still subject to death and rebirth. They remain caught in the same cycle of existence as humans, just in more pleasant circumstances. The Buddha taught that even the highest gods, who might think themselves eternal creators, are still bound by impermanence and suffering. One story tells of a monk who ascends through various heavens, asking each level of gods about the ultimate nature of reality. Finally reaching Brahma himself, the monk discovers that even this supreme deity doesn't have the answers, but is too proud to admit his ignorance in front of the other gods. For the Buddha, seeking answers from gods was like asking for directions from someone who is also lost. This is why Buddhism is sometimes called a religion of no religion. It doesn't require belief in a supreme being, yet it offers a profound spiritual path. The Buddha's journey. To understand Buddhism, we should first understand its founder. Siddhartha Gautama was born around 2,500 years ago in what is now Nepal, a prince raised in luxury and sheltered from the harshness of life. The story goes that when he finally ventured beyond the palace walls as a young man, he encountered for the first time an old person, a sick person, and a corpse. These sights revealed to him the inescapable reality of suffering that awaits all beings. Deeply moved, he abandoned his privileged life to seek the root causes of suffering and a way to overcome them. For years, he followed various spiritual teachers and practiced extreme asceticism, starving himself, enduring pain, denying himself all comfort, nearly to the point of death. Eventually, he realized that this path of self-torture was as unhelpful as his former life of self-indulgence. He chose instead a middle way, and sitting in meditation beneath a Bodhi tree, he awakened to profound insights about the nature of reality. He discovered that all things are impermanent, constantly changing, that our attempts to cling to what cannot last inevitably leads to suffering, and that what we call ourself isn't a fixed, separate entity, but rather a flowing process, deeply connected with everything around us. After his awakening, the Buddha spent the remaining 45 years of his life teaching others how to realize these truths for themselves. He didn't ask people to believe him. He invited them to come and see, ehipassiko, to test his teachings through their own experience. Buddhism is, at its heart, a dialogue rather than a proclamation, a method rather than a doctrine. The nature of desire and suffering. At the core of the Buddha's teaching is an understanding of desire and its relationship to suffering. The Buddha observed that we constantly chase after things we want and run away from things we don't want, yet we never find lasting satisfaction. Desire, by its very nature, can never be satisfied, the Buddha taught. No matter what you do, you will not be satisfied. That's the intrinsic nature of desire. We often satisfy the things we dream of, only to immediately start dreaming of something else. The cycle continues endlessly. The Buddha used a powerful metaphor for this. People cling desperately to material things and selfish desires, sacrificing their entire lives for them. They're like children trying to lick honey from a knife blade. The honey might taste sweet for a moment, but they cut their tongues in the process. Look at elderly people who have spent their lives chasing after everything society told them would bring happiness. Many seem covered in invisible scars, their beings made up of wounds and disappointments. When such people die, there's rarely a smile on their face, only the decay of their unfulfilled hopes. But someone who has lived without being deceived by dreams and false desires grows more peaceful and innocent with age. In death, they become even more beautiful than in life. When you live authentically, aging brings magnificence rather than decay. A special radiance surrounds you. The Buddha suggested a different approach to desire. Look into its nature. Observe how desire moves, for it's very subtle. You'll realize two things. Desire can never be satisfied, and once you understand this, desire will disappear, freeing you from craving. This is the state of peace, stillness, and liberation, the state of satisfaction. The 6 realms of existence. Buddhism offers a rich cosmology that can be understood both literally and as a psychological map of different states of mind. Central to this worldview is the concept of the 6 realms of existence, represented in the Wheel of Life, or Pava Chakra. At the top of the wheel are the Devas, or gods, beings of great bliss, power, and extremely long lifespans. They represent the height of spiritual achievement. At the bottom are beings in hell realms, representing the greatest suffering. Between these extremes are several other realms. The realm of the hungry ghosts, Pretas, with tiny mouths and huge bellies who can never satisfy their cravings. the human realm where we currently exist, the realm of angry spirits, asuras, full of rage and violence, and the animal realm. We need not take these realms literally. They can be understood as different states of mind we experience. We enter hell realms when we feel intense suffering. We become like hungry ghosts when we feel constant dissatisfaction. We experience the human realm when we feel balanced and reasonable. We taste the heavenly realms in moments of great joy. We become like angry spirits when filled with rage, and we sink into the animal realm when we act without awareness. The better person you become, the higher you climb toward the heavenly realms. The worse you become, the lower you sink toward the hell realms. But here's the important point. Whatever goes up must eventually come down. You can't keep improving forever. Beyond a certain point, improvement leads to decline, like a knife sharpened too much that begins to wear away. True enlightenment or Buddhahood exists nowhere on this wheel. It is liberation from the wheel itself. By trying to become better and better, you actually bind yourself to the wheel with golden chains. By becoming worse, you bind yourself with iron chains. The Buddha's teaching shows how to break free from all chains completely. Beyond self, the heart of Buddhist insight. The Buddha taught that one of our most fundamental errors is believing we have a fixed, separate self or soul. This isn't saying that you don't exist, clearly you do, but that you don't exist as a separate, independent entity. The Buddha stated that the concept of self has been misunderstood. You exist, but you don't have a separate self. You exist, but aren't separate from the universe. Separation forms the basis of the self concept. If I am separate from you, I have a self. If you are separate from me, you have a self. Consider a map showing North and South America. On paper, they appear separate, but beneath the ocean, there's only one Earth. All continents connect. They're one Earth. We appear separate only on the surface. The deeper you go, the more separation fades. When you reach the core of your being, it becomes universal. There is no separate self, no soul. This is Buddhism's most radical and profound teaching. Not only does it say there is no God in the sense of an eternal creator, no heaven as a place of eternal reward, but it also says there is no eternal soul or self. This can be quite challenging, as it leaves us with nothing to cling to. Without a soul, if death is the end, all effort seems meaningless. What's the point of meditation or prayer? But the Buddha's insight is that this very clinging to a permanent self is what causes our suffering in the first place. When we let go of this illusion, we discover a freedom and peace that doesn't depend on the idea of being a separate, permanent entity. This is how our universe truly is, a vast network of mutual interdependence, where everything implies everything else. The four Dharma worlds. In the Huayan, Keigon in Japanese, school of Buddhism, which forms an intellectual foundation for Zen, there's a concept of the four Dharma worlds that helps us understand different levels of reality. The world of Ji, particulars. This is the everyday world of separate things and events that our senses normally perceive. Mountains, rivers, people, buildings, all appearing as distinct entities. The world of Rai, unity. This is the unifying principle behind all particulars. When you truly understand things, you become aware of their relationships to each other and eventually see the unity behind them. It's as if the multiplicity of the world dissolves into oneness. The world of Riji, unity and particulars in harmony. This world recognizes that the universal and the particular are not incompatible. Just as you can have a red circle with the circle being a particular shape and red being a universal color, so too can spirituality and materiality, otherworldliness and worldliness coexist in harmony. The properly rounded out person is both spiritual and material. The world of Jiji, mutual penetration of all particulars. This is the highest view, where every particular thing is seen to contain and imply all other particular things. Between one event and any other, there is no obstruction or separation. This is the doctrine of the mutual interpenetration of all things. The world of Jiji is like Indra's net, where every dewdrop reflects all others. It means that any one event implies all events, and the entire universe, past, present, and future, depends on every single member. The whole universe depends on you, just as you depend on the whole universe. This highest view forms the philosophical basis for Zen as a practical, non-intellectual way of life. It's the realization that the most ordinary event, drinking tea, washing dishes, sneezing, implies the entire universe. This is why Zen people use ordinary events to demonstrate the cosmic and metaphysical without explaining them intellectually. The middle way and dialectical teaching. The Buddha's approach to teaching was dialectical, meaning that rather than simply stating absolute truths, he offered teachings that would counterbalance wherever someone was leaning too far in one direction. When people pursued happiness too single-mindedly, he taught about life's inevitable suffering. When people clung to the idea of a permanent self, he taught that no fixed self exists. But the truth lies in the middle way, neither extreme suffering nor perfect happiness, neither eternal self nor complete non-self. This is why Buddhism is often described as the middle way. It avoids extremes of all kinds. The Buddha himself had experienced both the extreme of sensual indulgence as a prince and the extreme of harsh asceticism as a spiritual seeker. Finding both lacking, he discovered a balanced path that embraced both spiritual awareness and engagement with the world. This dialectical approach is particularly evident in Zen Buddhism. When asked a question about religion, a Zen master might reply in terms of the secular. When asked about something secular, they might reply in terms of religion. For example, when the master Joshu was asked, "At the end of the Kalpa, when everything is destroyed in fire, will one thing remain?" "What is that?" Joshu replied, "It's windy again this morning." Another time, a student asked, "Please pass me a knife." The master handed him the knife with the blade first. "Please give me the other end," said the student. "What would you do with the other end?" the master replied. In the first case, a profound metaphysical question is answered with a comment about the weather. In the second, a simple request for a knife turns into a philosophical problem. This is the Zen way of breaking through our habitual patterns of thinking to direct experience. Zen, the direct pointing. Zen Buddhism represents one of the most fascinating expressions of Buddhism, particularly as it developed in Japan. What makes Zen special is its directness and simplicity. While other forms of Buddhism might involve elaborate rituals or detailed philosophical explanations, Zen cuts through all that to point directly at reality itself. Zen began in China around the 6th century when, according to tradition, an Indian monk named Bodhidharma brought a special teaching that was beyond words and letters. This tradition eventually made its way to Japan, where it profoundly influenced the culture, arts, and way of life. The word Zen comes from the Japanese pronunciation of the Chinese word Chan, which in turn comes from the Sanskrit word dhyana, meaning meditation or absorption. But Zen isn't just about sitting quietly, it's about bringing complete awareness to every aspect of life. A famous Zen saying declares, "Before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water." What changes isn't the activity, but the quality of awareness we bring to it. Zen teachers use various methods to awaken students from their habitual thinking. One approach involves presenting paradoxical statements or questions called koans, like, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" Or, "What was your original face before your parents were born?" These questions can't be answered through logical thinking. They're designed to exhaust the rational mind and open the way for direct insight. Another method is zazen, just sitting in meditation, paying attention to breath and posture, letting thoughts and feelings arise and pass without getting caught in them. Unlike meditation practices that focus on achieving special states, Zen meditation is often described as just sitting, being completely present without seeking anything. Zen arts and ordinary life. One thing that distinguishes Zen from other Buddhist traditions is its artistic expression. Zen has influenced Japanese calligraphy, garden design, flower arrangement, pottery, and tea ceremony. These arts aren't just decorative, but embody Zen principles: simplicity, directness, naturalness, and appreciation of imperfection. The Zen aesthetic often celebrates what's incomplete or impermanent. A roughly formed tea bowl with subtle irregularities might be treasured above a perfectly symmetrical one. A garden might deliberately incorporate weathered stones and sparse arrangements to suggest the beauty of natural processes. This aesthetic is sometimes called wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection and impermanence. What's striking about this approach is how it finds the profound in the most ordinary activities. Zen doesn't seek special experiences separate from daily life. Instead, it teaches that enlightenment isn't something exotic or distant, but the true nature of our everyday experience when seen clearly. The highest kind of religious or spiritual attainment in Zen has no outward sign that it is religious or spiritual. As one Chinese poem says, "Entering the forest, he does not disturb a blade of grass. Entering the water, he does not make a ripple. There is no sign about him to indicate that he is self-consciously religious." This is why the greatest Zen painting and poetry often has as its subject matter not religious themes at all, but ordinary objects and experiences: pine branches, rocks, bamboos, frogs jumping into ponds. The most famous Zen poem by Basho simply states, "An old pond, a frog jumps in, plop." This poem contains no philosophical statements, yet it perfectly expresses the Zen appreciation for the ordinary moment, fully experienced. The splash is just a splash, nothing more, nothing less, yet when truly heard, it contains everything. The double bind and Zen practice. One of the core teaching methods in Zen is what might be called the double bind, a situation where you're given contradictory demands that cannot both be fulfilled. Society itself often places us in such binds. You must be free, you must be natural, you must love me. How can one obey a command to be free or natural? The very act of trying creates a contradiction. The Zen teacher deliberately places the student in such binds to bring about a breakthrough. For instance, the teacher might demand, "Show me your true self." Any attempt to present oneself as genuine immediately becomes contrived and inauthentic. Yet not trying at all is also a form of trying. The student is caught in an impossible situation. When you ask a Zen teacher to help you eliminate desire, which causes suffering, they point out that your desire to eliminate desire is still desire. If you try not to desire, you're desiring non-desire. When you try to escape reality, you still feel it chasing you. Even trying not to escape becomes another form of escape. This predicament in Zen is called a mosquito trying to bite an iron bull, a position of such psychic extremity that nothing can be done about it. When you find that there's nothing you can do and nothing you cannot do about a given situation, you suddenly realize the fiction of being a separate ego. It simply doesn't exist except as a figment of the imagination or a social convention. This is why in Zen they say, when the wrong person uses the right methods work in the wrong way. You might practice meditation to become a Buddha, but if you're approaching it with the wrong attitude, trying to gain something or become something, you can't succeed. Your selfish intent defeats the very practice meant to free you from selfishness. The religion of no religion. The term religion of no religion captures the paradoxical quality of Zen. It's not that Zen rejects religion entirely, it's that it recognizes both the value and the limitations of religious forms. Think of religion as a raft for crossing a river. When you reach the other shore, you don't carry the raft on your back, you leave it behind. But some people get so attached to religious forms that they stay on the raft, going back and forth across the river endlessly. The religious teacher becomes like a ferryman who never reaches the shore himself. Someone does need to return the raft to help others cross. But they must remember that the goal is getting people across and setting them free, not keeping them on the raft forever. When too many crowd aboard, people mistake the means for the end. In the series of Zen paintings called the 10 Ox Herding Pictures, which depict stages of spiritual development, the final image shows a person returning to the marketplace with bliss-bestowing hands. Having attained enlightenment, represented in earlier pictures, they return to ordinary life to help others, but without any outward sign of spiritual attainment. They appear completely ordinary. This is the Bodhisattva ideal, someone who has awakened but returns to the world of everyday life out of compassion for all beings. As one Zen saying puts it, to return to the source is not the same as never having left. The truly enlightened person doesn't reject the world, but engages with it from a perspective of wisdom and compassion. The Zen master Rinzai once said, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him." This shocking statement points to the danger of turning even the Buddha into an object of attachment. True awakening involves letting go of all concepts and images, even the most sacred ones. The modern relevance of Zen. What makes Zen so appealing across cultures is its universality. While it emerged from specific Buddhist traditions, its essence points to something recognized in many wisdom traditions: the possibility of living with greater awareness, presence, and freedom from our habitual patterns of thinking and reacting. In our hyper-connected, yet often profoundly disconnected world, Zen's emphasis on presence offers a path toward greater wholeness and authenticity. We're rarely present with what's happening right now. Our attention bounces between regrets about the past and worries about the future, while the present moment, the only moment we ever actually experience, slips by unnoticed. A traditional Zen story addresses this directly. A man was running across a field when he encountered a tiger. Fleeing, he came to a cliff and climbed down a vine. Looking up, he saw the tiger waiting. Looking down, he saw another tiger below. Two mice began gnawing at the vine. At that moment, he noticed a wild strawberry growing on the vine. Holding on with one hand, he picked and ate the strawberry with the other. How sweet it tasted. This story isn't about ignoring problems. It's about our capacity to be fully present, even in difficult circumstances. The tigers represent the past and future that often terrify us. The mice symbolize the passing of time. Yet right now, in this very moment, there is a strawberry. The direct, vivid experience of being alive. Can we taste it fully, even while acknowledging our challenges? Digital distraction and Zen. In our modern world, we face a challenge the ancient Zen masters couldn't have imagined: digital distraction. Many of us check our phones within minutes of waking up and continue checking them throughout the day, often even during conversations with loved ones. Studies show the average person checks their phone over 150 times daily, often without conscious awareness. This constant fragmentation of attention not only prevents us from being present, but actually reshapes our brains, making sustained attention increasingly difficult. A modern Zen approach might involve noticing the urge to check your phone without immediately acting on it. What drives this compulsion? Is it fear of missing something? Boredom? Anxiety? By bringing awareness to this habit, we can begin to break its unconscious power. The Zen approach isn't about demonizing technology, but about bringing awareness to automatic habits. Most phone checking is driven not by necessity, but by restlessness or a vague sense that something better might be happening somewhere else. The very opposite of Zen's emphasis on the fullness of the present moment. Facing difficult emotions. Another domain where Zen practice offers profound insight is in our relationship with difficult emotions like anxiety and fear. Many of us go to great lengths to avoid uncomfortable feelings, turning to distractions, substances, or constant busyness. Yet Zen suggests a radically different approach. Instead of trying to make anxiety go away, what if you got curious about it? Where exactly do you feel it in your body? What sensations are present? Does it stay the same or change from moment to moment? When you stop fighting anxiety and instead bring kind awareness to it, you may find it isn't a solid thing, but a collection of changing sensations. Tightness in your chest, shallow breathing, tingling in your hands. By observing these sensations with curiosity instead of fear, they no longer overwhelm you. The anxiety still comes, but it no longer controls your life. This approach reflects a fundamental Zen teaching. Resistance creates suffering. When we fight against what's already happening, whether it's anxiety, physical pain, or difficult circumstances, we create tension that amplifies our distress. When we meet experience with open awareness, we discover a freedom that doesn't depend on circumstances being a certain way. Beyond achievement. In the world of work and achievement, Zen offers particularly counterintuitive wisdom. While our culture celebrates ambition and constant self-improvement, Zen suggests that our relentless pursuit of goals often undermines the very satisfaction we're seeking. A CEO might proudly describe his rigorous productivity system and ambitious 5-year plan, only to have a Zen master ask, "With all this planning and achieving, when do you actually live? Are you constantly preparing to live at some future time when all your goals are achieved? When have you last fully experienced a single cup of tea without thinking about what comes next?" This points to a fundamental insight. Life only happens now. Our plans and ambitions have their place, but when they pull us out of the present moment into endless future-oriented striving, we miss our actual lives as they unfold. Many high achievers discover this too late, reaching their goals only to find a hollow feeling of, "Is this all there is?" Zen doesn't tell us to abandon meaningful work or ambitions, but it invites us to hold them more lightly, to find fulfillment in the process rather than postponing our sense of aliveness until some future achievement. Zen and mortality. Another area where Zen offers valuable insights is in our relationship with aging, illness, and mortality. Our culture often treats these natural processes as problems to be solved or enemies to be fought, creating tremendous suffering when we inevitably encounter them. A hospice nurse who practiced Zen shared how it transformed her work with dying patients. While medical training taught her to see death as a failure to be prevented, Zen taught her to see it as a natural transition that could be approached with awareness and compassion. She recounted sitting with a man in his final hours. Instead of filling the space with nervous chatter or medical procedures, she simply sat in quiet presence, attuned to his breathing. At one point, he opened his eyes and whispered, "Thank you for not being afraid to be here with me." Those words revealed how our fear of mortality often prevents us from being fully present with those who need us most. Zen doesn't offer easy answers about death or eliminate our natural fear of it. Instead, it invites us to look directly at impermanence rather than pushing it away. By becoming intimate with the reality that nothing lasts forever, not our possessions, relationships, bodies, or identities, we can appreciate the preciousness of each moment and live with less fear and grasping. This perspective can be particularly powerful at the end of life. Someone who has lived without being deceived by dreams and false desires grows more peaceful and innocent with age. In death, they become even more beautiful than in life. When you live authentically, aging brings magnificence rather than decay. A special radiance surrounds you, and you become like a temple of something eternal and absolute. This is how life should unfold, a journey of growth and evolution. If aging makes you bitter and ugly, it suggests you've spent your life licking honey from knife blades. You've been wounded repeatedly by your own desires. Old age becomes dry and tedious, and few can face death peacefully, because people rarely live with true awareness. If someone truly lives, like a candle burning brightly from both ends, their death becomes something beautiful to witness. You'll see their life shine brightest at the very end. In their final moments, they become like a powerful flame. Their entire being concentrates into that moment, and light seems to radiate from them. Seeing beyond our stories. The practice of Zen also offers profound insights for our relationships. Many of us approach relationships with fixed ideas about who the other person is, how they should behave, and what we need from them. These expectations often create disappointment and conflict when reality doesn't match our mental images. A couple on the verge of divorce attended a Zen-based relationship retreat as a last resort. During an exercise, they were instructed to look at each other for 5 minutes without speaking. For many couples, truly seeing each other without the filter of past grievances, future worries, and fixed narratives is revolutionary. Afterwards, the husband shared with surprise, "I saw my wife today for the first time in years. Not who I think she is or who I want her to be, but who she actually is right now." This moment of true seeing created an opening for genuine connection beyond their stories about each other. This practice of seeing without preconceptions applies to all relationships. How often do we interact with others based on our ideas about them, rather than meeting them freshly in each moment? How often do we half listen while formulating our response or checking our phones? Zen teaches us that when we look deeply at others, we see that they are not separate from us. Their joy and suffering are our joy and suffering. This understanding naturally gives rise to compassion, not as a moral obligation, but as a natural expression of our interconnection. There's a Zen story about 2 monks walking together on a muddy road. They encountered a lovely young woman in a silk kimono, unable to cross a large puddle without ruining her clothes. The elder monk picked her up and carried her across the puddle, setting her down safely on the other side. The 2 monks continued their journey in silence. 5 hours later, the younger monk, unable to contain himself any longer, said, "As monks, we're not supposed to touch women, especially beautiful ones." "Why did you do that?" The elder monk replied, "I left the woman by the puddle 5 hours ago." "Why are you still carrying her?" How often do we do the same? Something happens. Perhaps someone cuts us off in traffic, a colleague makes a thoughtless remark, or a family member forgets an important date. The actual event might last seconds, but we carry it for hours, days, sometimes even years, replaying it in our minds, having imaginary arguments, building elaborate cases for how we've been wronged. Meanwhile, life continues happening right now, but we're missing it because we're lost in our stories about the past. The inner critic and self-acceptance. Zen also offers wisdom for dealing with one of the most universal human challenges, the inner critic. Most of us have an internal voice that judges, criticizes, and finds us lacking in countless ways. This voice can become so familiar that we mistake it for reality or even for wisdom, when it's actually a conditioned pattern that creates needless suffering. A writer struggling with creative blocks attended a Zen retreat. During a private meeting with the teacher, he confessed that whenever he sat down to write, a voice in his head would tell him his ideas were worthless and that he was fooling himself to think he had any talent. The teacher asked, "When you hear that voice, who is hearing it?" This question stopped the writer short. He realized there was an awareness in him that could observe this critical voice rather than being completely identified with it. The teacher suggested that each time the critical voice arose, he should simply note thinking and return to his breath before continuing to write. This simple practice created enough space for the writer to recognize that the inner critic was not the truth about him, but a conditioned thought pattern. By neither fighting against it nor believing it, he found freedom to create, despite its continuing presence. This approach to the inner critic illustrates a fundamental Zen insight. We are not our thoughts. Thoughts arise and pass in the mind like clouds in the sky, but the sky itself, our basic awareness, remains spacious and clear. By learning to identify with awareness rather than with the contents of thinking, we find freedom from the tyranny of self-judgment. The freedom of simplicity. The wisdom of Zen also applies to how we relate to possessions and consumption. Our culture bombards us with messages that we need more clothes, more gadgets, more experiences, to be happy. Yet many people find that accumulating possessions brings only temporary satisfaction before the craving for more returns. A successful businessman who practiced Zen shared his experience of downsizing from a large house filled with expensive belongings to a simple apartment with only what he truly needed and valued. The process wasn't about ascetic self-denial, but about discovering what truly contributed to his well-being versus what merely cluttered his life and mind. He found that with fewer possessions requiring maintenance, insurance, and mental energy, he experienced greater freedom and clarity. His practice became noticing the impulse to acquire new things and questioning whether they would genuinely enrich his life or simply add complexity and distraction. This approach reflects the Zen aesthetic of simplicity, not as a rigid standard of minimalism, but as a natural expression of knowing what truly matters. When we're not constantly chasing after the next thing, we can appreciate what we already have more fully. Psychologists have observed that people who feel powerless internally often buy expensive things to compensate. If someone feels weak inside, they might want the best car they can find. Their inner strength has faded, so they replace it with something external. They feel powerful when the car speeds down the highway. They become the car. For years, psychologists have noted that people with deep feelings of unworthiness often have the biggest ambitions. Nobody goes into politics unless they're trying to prove something to themselves. Politicians typically feel inferior inside and can't bear it. They need to prove their importance because they don't truly believe in themselves. Whatever you lack on the inside, you try to gather from the outside world. But if you're complete within yourself, you can simply relax in your own peaceful presence. Only then can you truly see your own beauty and know who you really are. The origin and evolution of Zen. To understand Zen more deeply, we should explore its historical origins and how it evolved across different cultures. Zen didn't appear suddenly or in isolation. It emerged from the rich soil of Buddhist thought and practice that had been developing for over 1,000 years. Buddhism originated in India with Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, around the 5th century BCE. As Buddhism spread across Asia, it naturally adapted to different cultures and environments. By the time it reached China in the 1st century CE, Buddhism had already developed various schools and approaches. The particular form of Buddhism that would eventually become Zen began with the legendary figure of Bodhidharma, an Indian monk who is said to have arrived in China around the 5th century CE. According to tradition, when Bodhidharma met with the Chinese emperor, who proudly listed all the temples he had built and good deeds he had done, Bodhidharma bluntly told him, "No merit whatsoever." This shocking response illustrated the Zen approach, cutting through conventional ideas of religious practice to point directly at the heart of awakening. Bodhidharma is credited with bringing a tradition of direct mind-to-mind transmission outside the scriptures. When asked what he taught, he is said to have replied, "A special transmission outside the scriptures, not founded upon words and letters, directly pointing to the human mind, seeing into one's nature and attaining Buddhahood." In China, this tradition became known as Chan Buddhism. It blended Indian Buddhist teachings with Chinese philosophical traditions, particularly Taoism, which emphasized naturalness, simplicity, and harmony with the flow of nature. This synthesis created a uniquely Chinese form of Buddhism that valued direct experience over theoretical knowledge. Chan Buddhism flourished during the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, considered the golden age of Chinese culture. Masters like Huineng, Mazu, Linji, and Zhaozhou developed distinctive teaching styles that employed surprising tactics to break through their students' conceptual thinking. When Chan Buddhism was transmitted to Korea, where it became known as Seon, and later to Japan in the 12th century, where it became known as Zen, each culture added its own flavor to the practice. In Japan particularly, Zen influenced nearly every aspect of culture, from architecture and garden design to pottery, painting, calligraphy, and even everyday activities like serving tea or arranging flowers. Today, Zen has spread worldwide and continues to evolve as it encounters new cultures. While maintaining its essential focus on direct experience, Zen adapts its forms and practices to meet the needs of contemporary practitioners in diverse settings. Different schools of Zen. Within the Zen tradition, different schools have emerged, each with their own emphasis and approach. In Japan, the two main schools are Rinzai and Soto Zen, with a third smaller school called Obaku. Rinzai Zen, founded by the Chinese master Linji, Rinzai in Japanese, emphasizes sudden awakening and makes extensive use of koans, those paradoxical questions or statements designed to break through conceptual thinking. In Rinzai training, the student might sit for years working on a single koan, such as, What is the sound of one hand clapping? The breakthrough experience, called Kensho or Satori, is a moment of direct insight into one's true nature. Soto Zen, founded by Dogen in the 13th century, emphasizes just sitting, shikantaza, without any particular goal or technique. While Rinzai often feels more dynamic and confrontational, Soto practice tends to be more gentle and gradual. Dogen taught that meditation is not a means to become enlightened, but rather the expression of enlightenment itself. Practice and enlightenment are one, he insisted. Obaku Zen, the third and smallest school, was introduced to Japan in the 17th century. It incorporated elements of Pure Land Buddhism, including the chanting of the Buddha's name, into Zen practice. Despite these differences, all schools of Zen share the fundamental recognition that awakening is not something to be achieved in the future, but our natural state when we stop obscuring it with our thinking and striving. The role of teachers and lineage. In Zen, the relationship between teacher and student holds a special place. Unlike religious traditions that rely primarily on sacred texts for authority, Zen emphasizes direct transmission from person to person, what's called the warm hand to warm hand transmission. This doesn't mean that Zen rejects scriptures. Zen monasteries have extensive libraries, and monks study Buddhist texts thoroughly. But Zen recognizes that intellectual understanding alone doesn't lead to awakening. Something more immediate is needed, the living presence of someone who embodies the teaching. The traditional Zen lineage claims an unbroken succession of teachers going back to the Buddha himself. The story goes that once, while giving a talk, instead of speaking, the Buddha simply held up a flower. Only one disciple, Mahakashyapa, understood and smiled. This flower sermon is considered the first transmission of Zen, a direct pointing beyond words. This emphasis on lineage ensures that Zen remains a living tradition rather than a fossilized set of ideas. Each generation of teachers brings fresh insight while maintaining connection to the root teaching. As one Zen saying puts it, not the same, not different. The Zen teacher's role is not to give answers, but to create conditions where the student can discover their own insight. This often involves frustrating the student's attempts to grasp Zen intellectually, or to use spiritual practice as a way of improving or protecting the ego. A true Zen teacher is like a mirror, reflecting the student back to themselves without distortion. The teacher might appear to be harsh or kind, challenging or supportive, but their fundamental concern is always the student's awakening, not their comfort. Finding an authentic teacher has traditionally been considered essential in Zen. While books and recordings can provide valuable information, they cannot offer the kind of immediate feedback and challenge that comes from working with a living teacher. However, as Zen has spread globally, new forms of practice and teaching have emerged to make the tradition accessible to those who might not have access to traditional teachers. The practice of Zazen. Just sitting at the heart of Zen practice is Zazen, seated meditation. Unlike some forms of meditation that focus on achieving altered states of consciousness or cultivating particular qualities, Zazen is often described simply as just sitting. In Soto Zen particularly, the emphasis is on shikantaza, just sitting, without any technique or goal. You simply take a stable posture, traditionally sitting cross-legged on a cushion with spine erect, hands forming a mudra, ritual gesture, eyes open but gaze lowered, and then you just sit, fully present with whatever arises. This sounds extremely simple, and it is, but it's not easy. Our minds are conditioned to be constantly busy, planning, remembering, fantasizing, worrying. When we first sit in zazen, we discover just how restless our minds actually are. It can be shocking to realize how rarely we're fully present for our own lives. In zazen, we don't try to stop thinking or empty the mind. That would just be another form of striving. Instead, we let thoughts come and go without getting caught up in them. When we notice we've been carried away by thinking, we simply return to the direct experience of sitting, the sensation of breathing, the feeling of our body, the sounds around us. Over time, this practice starts to reveal something profound, that we are not our thoughts. There is a spacious awareness that contains thinking, but isn't defined by it. This awareness is always present, but usually overlooked as we're caught up in the content of our experience, rather than the context in which it occurs. The physical posture in zazen is important. We sit with dignity, embodying the awakened state rather than struggling to attain it. As Zen master Suzuki Roshi famously said, "You are perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement." This paradoxical statement captures the essence of zazen. We practice diligently while recognizing that what we're seeking is already fully present. Zazen is traditionally practiced in periods of 25 to 45 minutes, often with walking meditation, kinhin, in between. In monasteries, monks might sit for many hours each day. For lay people, even a regular practice of 20 to 30 minutes can be transformative. While the formal practice of zazen provides a foundation, Zen ultimately isn't confined to the meditation cushion. The awareness cultivated in zazen extends to all activities. As another Zen saying puts it, Zen is not some kind of excitement, but concentration on our usual everyday routine. The Zen mindset in daily life. The ultimate aim of Zen practice isn't to have special experiences during meditation, but to bring the qualities of awareness, presence, and compassion into everyday life. This is sometimes called carrying the meditation pillow on your head, taking the qualities cultivated in formal practice into all your activities. One way Zen practitioners work with this is through mindful attention to everyday tasks. Cooking, cleaning, gardening, even using the bathroom, all become opportunities for practice. This isn't about making these activities special or spiritual. It's about being fully present for them, just as they are. There's a famous Zen story about a monk who asked his teacher, "How do you practice Zen?" The teacher replied, "When you're hungry, eat. When you're tired, sleep." The monk responded, "But that's what everyone does." The teacher smiled and said, "No, it isn't. Most people eat while thinking about 100 other things. They sleep while dreaming of 1,000 things. They don't just eat and just sleep." This story highlights the difference between simply performing actions and being fully present for them. Most of us move through our days on autopilot, lost in thoughts about the past or future, rarely experiencing the richness of the present moment. Zen practice invites us to wake up from this trance and discover the aliveness that's available in ordinary experience. This doesn't require changing what we do, just how we do it. with full awareness rather than divided attention. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen teacher, developed the concept of mindfulness bells, using everyday cues like a ringing telephone or red traffic light as reminders to return to present moment awareness. Any recurring event in your day can serve this purpose. The ping of a new email, walking through a doorway, or turning on a faucet. Each becomes an invitation to return to the present. This integration of mindfulness into daily activities is particularly important in our modern context, where the pace of life and constant digital distractions make it increasingly difficult to maintain focused attention. By bringing Zen awareness into everyday moments, we create islands of presence in a sea of distraction. Zen and creativity. Zen has had a profound influence on the arts, not just in Japan, but worldwide. The Zen approach to creativity isn't about self-expression in the Western sense. It's about getting the self out of the way to allow something more universal to emerge. In traditional Zen arts like calligraphy, painting, pottery, and flower arrangement, years of technical training are required. But the final step is always letting go of technique to allow spontaneous expression. It's only when the artist disappears that true art emerges. This paradox is captured in the concept of controlled accident. The Zen artist isn't trying to impose their will on the materials, but rather working with their inherent qualities, allowing something unexpected to emerge. A pot isn't forced into shape, but emerges through a conversation between the clay, the potter's hands, and the turning wheel. Zen-influenced arts often celebrate imperfection and transience. A crack in a tea bowl might be highlighted with gold rather than hidden kintsugi. A flower arrangement might include a dying leaf to acknowledge the impermanence of all things. These aesthetic choices reflect core Zen insights about the nature of reality. The influence of Zen on creativity extends far beyond traditional Asian arts. Artists and writers as diverse as John Cage, Agnes Martin, Gary Snyder, and Leonard Cohen have drawn inspiration from Zen. The beat poets of the 1950s were particularly influenced by Zen's emphasis on spontaneity and direct experience. For anyone engaged in creative work, Zen offers valuable insights. The emphasis on process over outcome, on working with rather than against the material, and on allowing rather than forcing, all these can transform our relationship with creativity. Most importantly, Zen reminds us that creativity isn't something we possess, but something we participate in when we get out of our own way. Zen and work. In traditional Zen monasteries, work, samu, is considered an essential part of practice, not separate from meditation. Monks engage in cooking, cleaning, gardening, and maintenance with the same mindful attention they bring to formal meditation. This approach to work offers a stark contrast to modern attitudes that often see work as merely a means to an end, something we endure to earn money for the real living that happens outside working hours. Zen suggests that any activity approached with full awareness can be a vehicle for awakening. The key is to focus on the work itself rather than its results or rewards. When we're fully engaged in a task, giving it our complete attention, something shifts. The boundary between worker and work dissolves, and we enter what psychologists now call a flow state. a condition of optimal experience where we're completely absorbed in what we're doing. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh suggests using the breath as an anchor while working. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. This simple practice helps prevent our minds from wandering into worries about the future or ruminations about the past, keeping us grounded in the present moment. Another Zen approach to work involves doing one thing at a time. In a culture that celebrates multitasking, Zen reminds us that our attention is inherently limited. When we try to do multiple things simultaneously, we often do none of them well and deplete our mental resources in the process. By giving our full attention to one task before moving to the next, we not only produce better results, but experience greater satisfaction. The mind becomes more settled, less scattered. We might actually get more done with less effort, simply because we're not wasting energy switching between tasks or recovering from distractions. Perhaps most fundamentally, Zen invites us to reconsider the very purpose of work. Beyond earning a living, work can be a way of contributing to the well-being of all life, of expressing our deepest values, and of developing ourselves as human beings. When work is approached in this spirit, even seemingly mundane tasks become meaningful. Zen and ethical living. While Zen is often associated with meditation and mystical insight, it also offers profound guidance for ethical living. Unlike religious traditions that emphasize obedience to divine commandments, Zen ethics emerge from a deep understanding of our interconnectedness with all life. Traditional Buddhist ethics are expressed in precepts, guidelines for speech and action that help create conditions conducive to awakening. These aren't seen as absolute rules handed down from above, but as expressions of wisdom and compassion that we gradually internalize through practice. The most basic precepts include not killing, not stealing, not engaging in harmful sexual behavior, not lying, and not clouding the mind with intoxicants. These are not followed out of fear of punishment, but from a growing recognition that actions which harm others ultimately harm ourselves as well, since we aren't separate from the web of life. In Zen, these precepts are often approached in a positive rather than prohibitive way. Rather than not killing, we might speak of acting with reverence for all life. Rather than not lying, we might emphasize speaking from a place of truthfulness and compassion. This subtle shift helps us see precepts not as restrictions on our freedom, but as expressions of our awakening nature. Beyond specific guidelines, Zen ethics emphasize responsiveness to the unique circumstances of each situation. What's helpful in one context might be harmful in another. This doesn't mean anything goes, but rather that ethical action requires awareness and discernment, rather than rigid adherence to rules. This flexible, context-sensitive approach to ethics is captured in a famous Zen story. A monk asked his teacher, "What is the essential meaning of Buddhism?" The teacher replied, "Do good, avoid evil, purify your mind." The monk said, "That's so simple, even a child of 3 could understand it." The teacher responded, "Yes, but even an old person of 80 finds it difficult to practice." The story reminds us that ethical understanding is simple, but ethical living requires ongoing practice and attention. It's not enough to know what's right. We must embody it in our actions, moment by moment. In our complex modern world, Zen ethics offer a valuable approach that avoids both rigid moralism and anything goes relativism. By grounding ethical choices in awareness of interconnection and in the direct experience of how our actions affect ourselves and others, Zen provides a flexible yet robust foundation for navigating ethical challenges. Zen and relationships. Relationships provide some of our greatest joys and most challenging difficulties. They're also fertile ground for spiritual practice. Zen offers insights that can transform how we relate to others, whether in intimate partnerships, family relationships, friendships, or community connections. One core Zen teaching is that there is no separate self. When we truly understand this, we recognize that the boundaries we perceive between ourselves and others are more fluid and permeable than we typically assume. This doesn't mean we lose our individuality, but rather that we see it in a larger context of interdependence. From this perspective, the common question, what can I get from this relationship, shifts to, how can this relationship help all involved to flourish? Rather than seeing relationships as transactions where we try to maximize benefits and minimize costs for ourselves, we can approach them as shared journeys of growth and awakening. Zen practice also helps us become more fully present in our relationships. How often are we physically with someone but mentally elsewhere, thinking about work, planning dinner, or scrolling through social media? This divided attention prevents genuine connection. When we bring mindful awareness to our interactions, something deeper becomes possible. A simple practice for mindful communication is to truly listen when others speak. Most of us listen partially at best, formulating our response while the other person is still talking. Zen suggests listening completely, giving our full attention to understanding not just the words, but the person speaking them. When we listen in this way, people feel truly seen and heard, which in itself can be deeply healing. Another valuable Zen approach to relationships involves non-attachment to fixed ideas about others. We all have tendency to create mental images of the people in our lives. She's always critical. He never listens. They're so self-centered. These images might contain some truth, but they also limit our ability to see the person freshly in each moment and to recognize their capacity for change. By letting go of these fixed notions and meeting others with beginner's mind, a mind open to new possibilities rather than filled with preconceptions, we create space for genuine encounter and growth. This doesn't mean ignoring problematic behaviors, but rather addressing them without reducing the whole person to those behaviors. Perhaps most importantly, Zen reminds us that our interactions with others reveal our own mind states as much as they do anything about the other person. When we're irritated by someone's behavior, the irritation arises in our consciousness. By noticing our reactions without immediately acting on them, we gain insight into our own patterns and create more choice in how we respond. This internal awareness is the foundation of skillful relationship. As we become more conscious of our own reactions, projections, desires, and fears, we bring greater clarity and freedom to our interactions with others. Zen and conflict resolution. Conflict is an inevitable part of human life. Whether between individuals, within communities, or between nations, differences in needs, values, and perceptions naturally lead to tension. Zen doesn't offer a way to eliminate conflict entirely, but it provides insights that can help us approach it with greater wisdom and compassion. One key Zen insight is that conflict often escalates when we become identified with our positions and see them as extensions of ourselves. A disagreement becomes personal, a threat to our identity or self-worth. From this reactive state, we become defensive or aggressive, and resolution becomes more difficult. Zen practice helps us recognize that our opinions and positions, while they may be important, are not who we are. By holding them more lightly, we create space for genuine dialogue. We can listen to differing viewpoints without feeling personally threatened, and we can advocate for our own perspective without needing to win at all costs. Another valuable approach is to look beneath positions to the underlying needs and concerns that drive them. Often, people with seemingly opposed positions share common values or needs. By focusing on these deeper shared concerns rather than surface disagreements, we can find creative solutions that address everyone's essential requirements. Zen also encourages us to be attentive to the physical and emotional sensations that arise during conflict. When we feel threatened, our bodies respond with increased tension, rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, and other stress responses. By noticing these reactions, without being controlled by them, perhaps taking a few deep breaths, or momentarily shifting attention to physical sensations, we can access more of our intelligence and compassion. The practice of non-judgment is particularly valuable in conflict situations. This doesn't mean abandoning discernment or ethical standards, but rather suspending the automatic categorization of people and actions as good or bad, right or wrong. By staying with the complexity of a situation rather than reducing it to simplistic judgments, we can see more clearly and respond more skillfully. Sometimes the wisest response to conflict is to create space, to pause rather than react immediately. As one Zen saying puts it, when in doubt, don't. A period of reflection, perhaps including meditation or consultation with trusted others, can allow for a more considered response rather than a reactive one. In community conflicts, Zen emphasizes the importance of creating processes where all voices can be heard with respect. This doesn't mean everyone gets what they want, but that everyone feels their perspective has been genuinely considered. When people feel heard, they're often more willing to accept outcomes different from their initial preferences. Perhaps most fundamentally, Zen approaches conflict with a recognition of our shared humanity and interdependence. Even those with whom we strongly disagree are, like us, seeking happiness and trying to avoid suffering. This basic recognition doesn't automatically resolve differences, but it provides a foundation of respect and compassion that makes resolution more possible. Zen and mental health. The relationship between Zen practice and mental health is complex and nuanced. While Zen isn't a replacement for professional mental health care when needed, its insights and practices can contribute significantly to psychological well-being. At its core, Zen offers a profound understanding of the human mind, how it works, how it creates suffering, and how it can be transformed. Through meditation and mindful attention to daily activities, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without being completely identified with them or controlled by them. This capacity for mindful observation creates what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe our own mental processes. This awareness gives us more choice in how we respond to thoughts and emotions rather than reacting to them automatically. For example, when anxiety arises, instead of being completely caught in the anxious thoughts and sensations, we can notice, anxiety is present, and relate to it with some spaciousness. Similarly, when negative self-talk emerges, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, we can recognize these as thoughts rather than absolute truths about ourselves. Zen practice also helps us develop greater acceptance of difficult experiences. Rather than fighting against uncomfortable emotions or trying to escape them through distraction or substance use, we learn to be with them with kindness and curiosity. This doesn't mean passively enduring suffering, but rather meeting it in a way that doesn't amplify or prolong it. The concept of non-attachment in Zen is particularly valuable for mental health. Many psychological difficulties involve becoming overly attached to certain thoughts, self-concepts, or desired outcomes. When life doesn't match our fixed ideas about how things should be, we suffer. By holding our thoughts and expectations more lightly, we become more flexible and resilient in the face of life's inevitable changes and challenges. Zen's emphasis on present moment awareness can be especially helpful for those struggling with rumination or worry, mental patterns that keep us stuck in the past or anxious about the future. By gently returning attention to the present moment, we interrupt these unproductive thought cycles and reconnect with the direct experience of being alive right now. The integration of mind and body in Zen practice is another aspect that supports mental health. Our mental states are intimately connected with physical sensations, and body-based practices like mindful breathing, walking meditation, or mindful movement help us work with psychological challenges at the somatic level rather than just the cognitive one. For those dealing with specific mental health conditions, Zen-inspired approaches like mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, and acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, have been clinically validated as effective treatments. These approaches combine traditional Zen insights with modern psychological understanding to address conditions like depression, anxiety, and stress-related disorders. It's important to note, however, that Zen practice isn't appropriate for everyone at all times. People experiencing acute psychosis, severe depression, or other serious mental health crises may need other forms of support before meditation becomes helpful. And even for those for whom meditation is generally beneficial, certain difficult emotions or memories may arise during practice that require additional support from a therapist or counselor. The wisest approach is TDUC Zen practice and professional mental health care, not as alternatives, but as complementary resources. Many people find that combining meditation with therapy and, when appropriate, medication provides the most comprehensive support for psychological well-being. Zen in the modern world. As Zen has traveled from east to west and from traditional to modern contexts, it has both transformed and been transformed. Today, Zen practices and insights are being applied in settings the ancient masters could never have imagined, from corporate boardrooms to scientific laboratories, from prison cells to hospital wards. This adaptation raises important questions about cultural appropriation, authenticity, and the essence of Zen. Is Zen still Zen when removed from its traditional Asian context? What elements are essential to preserve, and what can be modified to fit new cultural environments? There's no simple answer to these questions, but we can observe some of the ways Zen is evolving in the modern world. One significant development is the secularization of Zen practices, particularly meditation. Programs like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, have extracted meditation techniques from their religious context and presented them in scientific and therapeutic frameworks. This secularization has made meditation accessible to many who might be uncomfortable with Buddhist religious elements. It has also facilitated scientific research on the effects of meditation, with hundreds of studies documenting benefits for physical and mental health. However, some critics argue that this approach reduces Zen to a self-improvement technique, losing the deeper spiritual and ethical dimensions of the tradition. Another modern development is the democratization of Zen. Traditionally, Zen was primarily practiced by monks in monasteries, with lay people having limited access to the deeper teachings. Today, Zen centers and programs are available to people of all backgrounds, regardless of their ability to commit to monastic life. While this has made Zen more widely accessible, it also raises questions about depth of practice and the role of sustained intensive training. Technology has also influenced modern Zen practice. Meditation apps, online courses, and virtual Sanghas communities make Zen resources available to people who might not have access to local teachers or groups. These digital adaptations offer convenience and accessibility, but may lack the direct person-to-person transmission that has been central to the Zen tradition. Social engagement is another area where modern Zen is evolving. While traditional Zen has sometimes been criticized for focusing on individual liberation at the expense of social justice, many contemporary Zen practitioners explicitly connect their practice to activism and social change. Organizations like the Buddhist Peace Fellowship and movements like Engaged Buddhism seek to apply Zen insights to collective challenges like environmental degradation, economic inequality, and systemic discrimination. Perhaps the most significant aspect of Zen's modern evolution is its encounter with Western psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy. This cross-fertilization has enriched both Zen and Western understanding of consciousness, cognition, and human potential. Concepts that might once have seemed mystical or esoteric, like non-duality or the constructed nature of the self, now find parallels in scientific research on brain function and cognitive processes. As Zen continues to evolve in the modern world, the challenge is to preserve its essential insights and integrity while allowing it to take new forms appropriate to different cultural contexts. This requires a delicate balance, neither clinging rigidly to traditional forms, nor diluting the practice to the point where its transformative potential is lost. The most promising approach may be what Zen itself teaches: to hold tradition neither too tightly nor too loosely, to approach new developments with both respect for ancient wisdom and openness to fresh insights, and to focus not on abstract questions of authenticity, but on the practical matter of what genuinely helps people awaken. Zen koans, the art of the impossible question. One of the most distinctive and fascinating aspects of Zen practice, particularly in the Rinzai tradition, is the use of koans. These enigmatic questions, statements, or stories are designed to propel the student beyond logical thinking into direct insight. A koan isn't a riddle with a clever solution, nor is it nonsense designed to frustrate the intellect, though it certainly does that. Rather, it's a precision tool crafted to create a particular kind of crisis. A crisis of meaning that, when fully experienced, can open into breakthrough. Famous koans include, what is the sound of one hand clapping? What was your original face before your parents were born? Does a dog have Buddha nature? If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. When a student is given a koan, they're expected to meditate on it day and night, bringing their whole being to this impossible question. The usual approaches of logical analysis, metaphorical interpretation, or philosophical speculation all fail to crack the koan. That's precisely the point. The koan is designed to exhaust all the mind's usual strategies, creating a state of great doubt where one's entire framework of understanding is called into question. In this state of not knowing, something new can emerge, a direct, non-conceptual insight. The Japanese term for this breakthrough is satori, a moment of seeing into one's true nature beyond all concepts and constructions. In traditional Rinzai training, the student regularly meets with the teacher in private interview, dokusan, to present their understanding of the koan. The teacher can immediately discern whether the student has had genuine insight or is still caught in conceptual thinking. No explanation or interpretation, however clever, will satisfy the teacher. Only when the student embodies the truth of the koan, when they become the koan, will the teacher recognize their realization. Once a student resolves one koan, they're given another. In traditional training, a student might work through hundreds of koans over many years, each one addressing different aspects of awakening and its expression in daily life. The koan tradition highlights a key aspect of Zen, that ultimate truth cannot be captured in concepts or conveyed through words. It must be directly experienced. As one Zen saying puts it, don't mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself. All teachings, including koans, are merely pointers to a reality that transcends language. This doesn't mean that Zen is anti-intellectual or opposed to rational thought. Rather, it recognizes both the value and the limitations of conceptual understanding. Concepts are useful tools for navigating the relative world, but they can never capture the absolute. The koan practice helps us recognize when we're mistaking our conceptual maps for the territory itself. In our modern world, where we're constantly bombarded with information and explanations, the koan practice offers a radical alternative, an invitation to rest in not knowing, to become comfortable with mystery, and to discover what lies beyond our conceptual constructions of reality. Zen stories and their meanings. Zen teachings are often transmitted through stories rather than abstract philosophical statements. These stories typically feature interactions between masters and students, highlighting moments of awakening or illustrating key aspects of Zen wisdom. Let's explore a few classic Zen stories and their meanings. A university professor went to visit a famous Zen master. While the master quietly served tea, the professor talked about Zen. The master poured the visitor's cup full and then kept pouring. The professor watched the overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. "Stop. The cup is over full. No more will go in." "Like this cup," the master said, "you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" This simple story illustrates a fundamental requirement for learning: the willingness to set aside preconceptions and approach a subject with beginner's mind. When we're filled with our own ideas, judgments, and beliefs, there's no room for new understanding to enter. The tea represents Zen wisdom, but it could equally represent any form of learning or growth. The story reminds us that true learning begins with humility and openness. A man traveling across a field encountered a tiger. He fled, the tiger chasing after him. Coming to a precipice, he caught hold of the root of a wild vine and swung himself down over the edge. The tiger sniffed at him from above. Trembling, the man looked down to where, far below, another tiger was waiting to eat him. Only the vine sustained him. Two mice, one white and one black, little by little started to gnaw away at the vine. The man saw a luscious strawberry near him. Grasping the vine with one hand, he plucked the strawberry with the other. How sweet it tasted. This vivid story captures the human condition with remarkable economy. The tigers represent the past and future, regrets and memories behind us, fears and anxieties ahead. The mice nibbling the vine represent the passing of time, gradually bringing us closer to death. Yet in the midst of this precarious situation, there's a strawberry, the present moment in all its potential richness. The story doesn't deny the reality of danger or the inevitability of death. Rather, it suggests that even in the most difficult circumstances, the present moment offers the possibility of genuine aliveness and appreciation. The man's ability to fully taste the strawberry represents our capacity to be present even amid difficulty. Two monks were arguing about a flag flapping in the wind. One said, "The flag is moving." The other said, "The wind is moving." The sixth patriarch, Neng, happened to be passing by. He told them, "Not the wind, not the flag, mind is moving." This story moves through three levels of understanding. The first monk sees the flag moving, the most obvious, surface perception. The second monk has a subtler view, recognizing that it's actually the wind moving the flag. But Huineng points to something even more fundamental, that both flag and wind are experienced within consciousness. Without a perceiving mind, there would be no experience of flag or wind at all. The story invites us to look beyond surface appearances to the deeper nature of experience. All perception happens within consciousness, yet we typically attribute reality to the objects of perception while overlooking the consciousness in which they appear. This recognition points toward the non-dual nature of reality, where subject and object, inside and outside, are not ultimately separate. Zhuigan called out to himself every day, "Master," and then answered, "Yes, sir." Then he would say, "Be awake, be alert," and respond, "Yes, sir." Don't be deceived by others any day, any time. No, I won't. This humorous story highlights the practice of self-awareness, Zuigan's dialogue with himself represents the practice of mindfulness, the capacity to observe our own thoughts, emotions, and actions rather than being completely identified with them. By calling himself master and then responding, Zuigan embodies both the aspect of awareness that can observe, the witness, and that which is observed, the contents of consciousness. His self-admonishment to stay awake and not be deceived shows the ongoing nature of practice. It's not a one-time realization, but a continuous process of remembering our true nature. There once was a Zen master named Hakuin who lived in a town in Japan. He was greatly honored for his pure life, and many people came to him for teachings. Then one day, a beautiful girl who lived nearby became pregnant. Her angry parents demanded to know who the father was. At first, she refused to confess, but after much harassment, she named Hakuin. In great anger, the parents confronted the Zen master, berating him in front of his students and neighbors. "Is that so?" was all he would say. After the child was born, it was brought to Hakuin. By this time, he had lost his reputation, but he took good care of the child. He obtained milk and everything else the little one needed. A year later, the girl mother could stand it no longer. She told her parents the truth, that the real father was a young man who worked in the fish market. The mother and father of the girl at once went to Hakuin to ask his forgiveness, to apologize at length, and to get the child back. Hakuin was willing. As he yielded the child, all he said was, "Is that so?" This powerful story illustrates several key Zen principles. Hakuin's response, "Is that so?" shows a mind free from reactivity, neither defending his reputation nor expressing anger at the false accusation. His willingness to care for the child demonstrates compassion in action, putting the child's needs above concern for his own reputation. The story challenges our normal fixation on being perceived accurately by others and our tendency to defend ourselves against criticism. Hakuin's equanimity in the face of both condemnation and later praise shows a freedom from the 8 worldly winds that typically buffet our emotional state: praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, fame and disrepute. The cosmic body of the Buddha. Zen is often portrayed as a stripped-down, minimalist form of Buddhism, focused on direct experience rather than elaborate cosmology or metaphysics. While this emphasis on immediacy is certainly characteristic of Zen, it doesn't mean that Zen lacks profound philosophical dimensions. One of the most important philosophical foundations of Zen is the concept of the Dharmakaya, often translated as the cosmic body of the Buddha or the body of truth. This refers not to the physical body of the historical Buddha, but to the ultimate nature of reality itself. In Mahayana Buddhism, the Buddha is understood to have 3 bodies or aspects: Trikaya, Nirmanakaya, the transformation body, the physical, historical Buddha who taught in India, Buddha as human teacher, Sambhogakaya, the body of mutual enjoyment, Buddha as experienced in visions, dreams, and meditation, a more subtle manifestation, Dharmakaya, the truth body, the ultimate reality or Buddha nature that is the true nature of all things, formless, timeless, and beyond all conceptualization. The Dharmakaya is not separate from the world of form, but is its very essence. It's like the ocean in relation to waves. Each wave, phenomenon, is a temporary expression of the underlying ocean, Dharmakaya. This understanding of the Dharmakaya relates closely to the teaching of emptiness, sunyata, and dependent origination, pratityasamutpada. Everything that exists does so interdependently, without any fixed, independent essence. This emptiness of separate self-nature is not a vacuum or nihilistic void, but rather the infinite potential from which all forms arise. Zen poetry, painting, and other arts often attempt to evoke this understanding of the Dharmakaya. The empty space in a painting, the silence between notes in music, or the pause in a poem might point toward this formless reality that paradoxically gives rise to all forms. In everyday Zen practice, the Dharmakaya is not something to be sought outside of ordinary experience. Rather, it's recognized as the very nature of this moment, the suchness or thusness, tathata of reality, when perceived without the filters of conceptual thinking. As Zen master Dogen put it, if you cannot find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it? This teaching points to the Dharmakaya as not distant or separate, but as the very fabric of our immediate experience when seen with clarity. The cosmic game of hide and seek. One way to understand Zen, and indeed all of Buddhism, is as a response to a cosmic game of hide and seek that we're all playing. This game begins with our true nature, Buddha nature or Dharmakaya, hiding from itself by pretending to be separate individuals with limited awareness. In this game, the infinite, boundless consciousness that is our true nature pretends to forget itself. It takes on the disguise of being a separate entity, a person with a name, history, personality, and concerns, located inside a physical body and separate from the rest of the universe. This disguise or masquerade is so convincing that we completely forget it's a game. We believe with absolute conviction that we are indeed these separate entities, and this belief becomes the foundation for all our suffering. From the sense of being a separate self comes fear, desire, competition, loneliness, and all the other forms of psychological pain that humans experience. The Buddha's awakening was simply the recognition of this game for what it is. He saw through the disguise and remembered his true nature, not as a separate individual named Siddhartha, but as the boundless awareness in which all experience arises. This realization didn't make him less human. Rather, it allowed him to live his humanity more fully, without the constrictions and suffering that come from mistaken identity. Zen practice is essentially about seeing through this cosmic masquerade. Through meditation, koans, mindful living, and other practices, we gradually, or sometimes suddenly, recognize our true nature. We discover that what we've been seeking, peace, wholeness, freedom, is what we actually are when we stop pretending to be something less. This insight is often described as waking up, as if from a dream in which we were playing a limited character. The awakening doesn't destroy the character. We still have personalities, bodies, preferences, and relationships. But we no longer mistake the character for our fundamental identity. We can play our human role with more freedom, creativity, and compassion because we're no longer trapped in it. In this light, enlightenment is not the achievement of some special state or the acquisition of supernatural powers. It's simply the recognition of what has always been the case, that our true nature is not a separate entity, but the boundless awareness in which all experience appears. As the Zen saying goes, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. The activities don't change, but our relationship to them transforms completely. Zen and scientific understanding. In recent decades, there has been growing interest in the relationship between Zen insights and modern scientific understanding. While Zen and science arise from different cultural contexts and employ different methods, they can be seen as complementary approaches to understanding reality. One area of particular overlap is the scientific investigation of consciousness and its relationship to the brain. Neuroscience has made tremendous progress in mapping the neural correlates of various mental states, including those associated with meditation. Studies have shown that long-term meditation practice can lead to measurable changes in brain structure and function, supporting the Zen claim that sustained practice transforms the mind. However, science still faces what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness: how physical processes in the brain give rise to subjective experience. Here, Zen offers a perspective that challenges basic assumptions of the scientific approach. Rather than seeing consciousness as a product of the brain, Zen suggests that consciousness is fundamental, with physical reality appearing within it. This view aligns with certain interpretations of quantum physics, which suggest that the observer plays a crucial role in the manifestation of physical reality. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrates that at the quantum level, the act of observation affects what is observed, calling into question the strict subject-object division that classical science assumes. Zen's emphasis on direct experience also offers a valuable complement to the third-person methodology of science. While science aims for objective, verifiable knowledge that anyone can confirm through proper methods, Zen points to the irreducible first-person nature of consciousness itself. No matter how thoroughly we map the neural correlates of experience, the experience itself, what it feels like from the inside, remains accessible only through direct awareness. Another area of resonance between Zen and science is the understanding of interdependence. Ecology, systems theory, and network science all emphasize the interconnected nature of phenomena, showing how elements of complex systems cannot be understood in isolation. This scientific perspective on interdependence echoes the Buddhist teaching of dependent origination, pratityasamutpada, that nothing exists independently, but only in relation to other phenomena. Climate science, in particular, has made painfully clear how human activities affect the entire planetary system, underscoring our embeddedness in the web of life. This scientific understanding of ecological interdependence provides empirical support for the Zen intuition of non-separation from nature. The dialogue between Zen and science can benefit both traditions. For Zen, engagement with science can help to distinguish between genuine insights and cultural accretions or superstitions that may have become attached to the tradition over centuries. For science, Zen offers a rigorous first-person methodology for investigating consciousness and a perspective that questions hidden assumptions about the nature of observation and reality. Rather than seeing Zen and science as competing accounts of reality, we might view them as different facets of human inquiry. each illuminating aspects of existence that the other might miss. Zen's ethical dimensions. While Zen is often associated primarily with meditation and philosophical insights, it also contains profound ethical dimensions. These are not based on commandments from a divine authority, but emerge naturally from the realization of interdependence and the experience of compassion. In traditional Buddhist contexts, ethics is discussed in terms of precepts, guidelines for speech and action that support awakening. The most basic set includes 5 precepts: not killing, not stealing, not engaging in sexual misconduct, not lying, and not using intoxicants. These are not framed as absolute rules, but as training principles that help create conditions conducive to awakening. What distinguishes the Zen approach to ethics is its emphasis on spontaneous, appropriate response rather than adherence to fixed rules. Once the delusion of separate selfhood begins to dissolve through practice, compassionate action naturally emerges. As one Zen saying puts it, the compassionate heart arises from the realization of emptiness. This doesn't mean that Zen practitioners are exempt from ethical guidelines or can do whatever they feel like in the name of spontaneity. Rather, it suggests that true ethical action comes from deep insight rather than mere conformity to external standards. The precepts are seen not as restrictions imposed from outside, but as expressions of our awakened nature. In his essay, The Zen of Social Action, Robert Aitken Roshi, an influential American Zen teacher, wrote, "The Buddha way is not about developing a social consciousness. It is about revealing the social consciousness that has been there from the very beginning." This perspective challenges both conventional religious morality, which often emphasizes obedience to divine commandments, and secular relativism, which may reduce ethics to personal preference or social convention. Zen suggests that there are objective ethical truths, but they're discovered through direct realization of our interconnected nature rather than through abstract reasoning or appeal to authority. This has practical implications for how we approach ethical questions. Rather than asking, "What rule should I follow in this situation?" a Zen approach might ask, "What action would express clear seeing and compassion in this moment?" This doesn't make ethical decisions simpler. In fact, it often reveals their complexity. But it grounds ethics in direct experience rather than abstract principles. One manifestation of Zen ethics is the Bodhisattva vow, the commitment to work for the liberation of all beings. This vow expresses the recognition that my well-being and yours are not separate, that the suffering of others is not fundamentally different from my own. It's not a matter of sacrificing oneself for others, but of recognizing that the division between self and other is not absolute. In contemporary contexts, Zen ethics has been applied to issues like environmental protection, social justice, peace activism, and economic ethics. Organizations like the Buddhist Peace Fellowship and movements like Engaged Buddhism explicitly connect meditation practice with social action, seeing them not as separate activities, but as different expressions of the same awakened awareness. The Zen approach to ethics doesn't provide simple answers to complex moral questions, but it does offer a perspective that can complement other ethical frameworks. By grounding ethics in direct realization of interconnection rather than abstract principles or divine commands, Zen helps us respond to ethical challenges with both wisdom and compassion. Beyond religion and atheism. Is Buddhism a religion? Is it compatible with science and secular worldviews? These questions have generated countless debates, particularly as Buddhism has spread to Western countries with different cultural and intellectual traditions. The truth is that Buddhism, and Zen in particular, doesn't fit neatly into Western categories of religion versus non-religion, or theism versus atheism. It contains elements that might be considered religious in the Western sense: rituals, monasticism, concepts of rebirth and karma. But it doesn't center on belief in a creator God or divine revelation in the way that the Abrahamic religions do. This ambiguity has led some to present Buddhism as a non-religious spirituality, or even as a purely psychological or philosophical system compatible with any religious belief or none. While this framing has made Buddhism more accessible to secular Westerners, it can also involve selective emphasis on certain aspects of Buddhism while downplaying or reinterpreting others. The Buddha himself rejected both of the dominant religious paradigms of his time: eternalism, the belief in an eternal soul that survives death unchanged, and nihilism, the belief that death is the complete end of the person with no continuing consequences. Instead, he taught a middle way that recognized the reality of moral causation, karma, and continuity between lives without positing as unchanging self or soul. This nuanced position doesn't align with either conventional religious views or materialist atheism. It points to something beyond both, a perspective that recognizes the ultimate emptiness of all conceptual positions, while affirming the reality of interdependence and moral causation. In this light, we might understand Zen as a religion of no religion, a path that uses religious forms, meditation, ritual, community practice, to point to a reality beyond all concepts, including religious ones. The purpose of Zen practice isn't to confirm or deny religious beliefs, but to experience directly the nature of reality beyond belief altogether. This approach doesn't mean that Zen is anti-religious or that it views traditional religious forms as unimportant. Rather, it recognizes both the value and the limitations of religious expression. As one Zen teacher put it, "The finger pointing to the moon is not the moon, but without the finger, you might not notice the moon." For modern practitioners navigating this territory, there's no single right approach. Some may find it valuable to engage fully with the religious dimensions of Zen, including rituals, devotional practices, and traditional cosmology. Others may focus primarily on meditation practice and philosophical insights, while setting aside elements that seem culturally specific or metaphysically speculative. What matters is not whether we categorize Zen as religious or non-religious, but whether the practices and insights help us wake up from delusion and live with greater wisdom and compassion. In this sense, Zen is pragmatic rather than dogmatic, concerned more with what works to reduce suffering than with doctrinal correctness. This pragmatic approach aligns with the Buddha's famous parable of the poisoned arrow. When questioned about metaphysical matters, like whether the world is eternal or finite, the Buddha compared such inquiries to a man shot with a poisoned arrow who refuses treatment until he knows who shot the arrow, what wood it's made from, and so on. The urgent matter is removing the arrow and treating the wound, not satisfying philosophical curiosity. In our contemporary context, where religious and secular worldviews often seem locked in conflict, Zen offers a refreshing alternative, neither accepting nor rejecting either position, but pointing to a direct experience that transcends conceptual divisions altogether. Zen and death. Death remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries and most persistent fears. Nearly all religious and philosophical traditions attempt to address this ultimate human concern, and Zen is no exception. However, the Zen approach to death differs significantly from many other perspectives. Rather than offering comforting beliefs about an afterlife or eternal soul, Zen encourages direct confrontation with the reality of impermanence. Through meditation and mindful awareness, practitioners are invited to observe the constant arising and passing away of all phenomena, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and eventually the body itself. In Zen monasteries, monks traditionally sleep with their heads on small boxes that serve as pillows. These boxes might contain a reminder of death, perhaps a verse about impermanence, or even, in some traditions, an image of the monk as a corpse. This practice isn't morbid, but rather a way of keeping awareness of mortality present, preventing the complacency that comes from ignoring death's reality. Zen masters often emphasize that confronting death directly leads not to despair, but to a more authentic and appreciative relationship with life. When we truly realize that this precious human existence will end, and that we don't know when, each moment becomes more valuable. As one Zen saying puts it, "Die before you die and be completely dead. Then do whatever you want. It's all good." This enigmatic instruction points to a psychological or spiritual death, the death of the ego or separate self-sense, that paradoxically leads to more vibrant living. By dying before you die, you release attachment to the persona or self-image, experiencing the freedom that comes when you no longer need to maintain and defend a particular identity. The Zen tradition contains many stories of masters who faced physical death with remarkable equanimity. For example, the Japanese Zen master Shunryu Suzuki was diagnosed with terminal cancer. When a student asked him about facing death, he replied, "I am not dying. I am not living. I am just here." This response reflects the Zen perspective that our true nature transcends the conventional categories of life and death. This doesn't mean that Zen practitioners feel no sadness about dying or losing loved ones. Rather, it suggests that beneath the natural grief, there can be a deeper acceptance based on insight into the nature of existence. As the poet Ryokan wrote after the death of his beloved nephew, "The world of dew is a world of dew, and yet, and yet." These simple lines capture both the recognition of impermanence, the world of dew that vanishes with the morning sun, and the human heart's natural response to loss, the trailing and yet. For those caring for the dying, Zen offers valuable guidance. Rather than turning away from the reality of death or trying to maintain false cheerfulness, Zen encourages simple presence, being fully with the dying person without denial or evasion. This quality of presence can be more comforting than any words of reassurance and allows for authentic connection in life's final chapter. In practical terms, Zen suggests preparing for death, not by accumulating beliefs about what happens afterward, but by letting go of possessions, roles, unfinished business, and ultimately of the notion of being a separate self. This process of releasing attachment doesn't happen all at once, but gradually through consistent practice. Whether or not there is continuity of consciousness after physical death, a question on which various Buddhist traditions hold different views, the Zen approach emphasizes working with the mind in this life. By developing awareness of our true nature beyond the conventional self, we establish a perspective from which death appears not as an absolute end, but as another transformation in the endless dance of form and emptiness. Emptiness, the heart of Zen. At the heart of Zen wisdom lies the concept of emptiness. This is perhaps the most misunderstood yet profound teaching in all of Buddhism. Far from meaning nothingness or void in the nihilistic sense, emptiness refers to the lack of inherent, independent existence in all phenomena. Everything we experience, objects, people, thoughts, emotions, even our sense of self, arises dependently, in relation to countless other factors. Nothing exists in isolation or has a fixed, unchanging essence. This absence of independent, inherent existence is what emptiness points to. A classic analogy for understanding emptiness is a chariot. If we take apart a chariot, removing the wheels, axle, frame, and so on, at what point does it cease to be a chariot? There's no chariot essence that exists independently of its components, yet the chariot functions perfectly well as a conventional reality. Similarly, our sense of having a permanent, separate self doesn't hold up under close examination, yet we function effectively in the conventional world. The realization of emptiness doesn't negate conventional reality, but places it in a larger context. It's like recognizing that while the lines of longitude and latitude on a map are useful conventions, they don't actually exist on the physical Earth. This recognition doesn't make the map useless. It simply prevents us from mistaking the map for the territory. In Zen practice, emptiness isn't just a philosophical concept, but a direct experience. Through sustained meditation and inquiry, practitioners might experience moments where the usual boundaries between self and world, subject and object, inside and outside temporarily dissolve. These experiences of non-duality offer a glimpse of reality beyond our usual conceptual frameworks. The Zen approach to emptiness is not to analyze it intellectually, but to perceive it directly. As the Heart Sutra, one of the most important texts in Zen, puts it, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. This paradoxical statement points to the inseparability of the conventional world of form and the ultimate truth of emptiness. They are not two separate realities, but two perspectives on the same reality. Understanding emptiness has profound practical implications. When we recognize that our identity isn't fixed or separate, we hold our self-image more lightly. We become less defensive, less driven to prove ourselves, more open to change and growth. We see that our boundaries are more permeable than we thought, allowing for greater intimacy with others and the world. Emotionally, the insight into emptiness can be profoundly liberating. Many of our psychological struggles stem from treating impermanent, dependently arisen phenomena as if they were solid, permanent, and independently existing. When we see through this misperception, we release much unnecessary suffering. For example, if I receive criticism and take it as defining who I really am, I am a failure. I create significant suffering for myself. If I recognize that both I and failure are empty concepts without inherent existence, useful conventions in certain contexts, but not absolute truths, the sting of criticism diminishes considerably. I can learn from feedback without being defined by it. This doesn't mean living in a state of detachment or indifference. Paradoxically, when we understand emptiness, we can engage more fully with life, because we're not constantly trying to protect a fragile sense of self. We can be more spontaneous, more responsive, more present to what each moment brings. The eminent Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh coined the term interbeing to express emptiness in positive terms, emphasizing interconnection rather than absence. A flower is empty of independent existence precisely because it interis with sunshine, rain, soil, air, and countless other elements. Far from diminishing the flower, this interconnection is what allows it to exist at all. Similarly, our own existence is possible only because of innumerable factors, from our parents and ancestors, to the air we breathe, the food we eat, the communities that sustain us, and the entire web of life. Understanding emptiness in this way leads not to nihilism, but to profound gratitude and care for the whole of which we are a part. The path of not seeking. One of the most distinctive and paradoxical aspects of Zen is its emphasis on not seeking or non-attainment. While most spiritual paths focus on achieving something, whether enlightenment, salvation, or inner peace, Zen often emphasizes that there's nothing to attain that isn't already present. This creates a fascinating predicament for the Zen student. If enlightenment is already present as our true nature, why practice at all? Yet if we don't practice, we remain caught in delusion. So we practice, but not to get something we lack, rather to uncover what has been present all along. As Zen Master Dogen put it, if you cannot find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it? This statement points to the immediacy of awakening, not as a distant goal to be achieved through years of effort, but as the very nature of this present moment when seen clearly. The Zen approach to this paradox is sometimes called effortless effort, or the action of non-action, Wu Wei in Chinese. It's not about straining to reach a goal, but about allowing our true nature to manifest without interference from our conditioned patterns of thinking and doing. This doesn't mean Zen practice is easy or that no effort is involved. Especially in the beginning stages, considerable effort may be needed to establish a consistent meditation practice, to work with challenging emotions, and to break habitual patterns. But the quality of this effort is different from striving for achievement. It's more like the effort involved in letting go than in grasping. A famous Zen story illustrates this perfectly. A student asked his teacher, "I've been at this monastery for 3 years, but I haven't made any progress. Perhaps I should leave." The teacher asked, "What do you expect to achieve?" The student replied, "I want to become a Buddha." The teacher picked up a tile and began polishing it. When the student asked what he was doing, the teacher said, "I'm polishing this tile to make a mirror." The student protested, "No amount of polishing will turn a tile into a mirror." The teacher replied, "And no amount of practice will turn you into a Buddha, because you already are one." This story highlights the futility of practice, motivated by a sense of lack or inadequacy. Such practice only reinforces the illusion of separation that it supposedly aims to overcome. True practice emerges from a different place, not from wanting to become something we're not, but from allowing what we already are to manifest more clearly. Paradoxically, when we drop the agenda of self-improvement or spiritual achievement, genuine transformation becomes possible. As we release the anxious striving of the ego, our innate qualities of wisdom and compassion emerge more naturally. We discover that what we've been seeking has been present all along, like a fish searching for water or a bird looking for air. In practical terms, the path of not seeking involves a fundamental shift in motivation and attention. Rather than practicing to get somewhere or become someone, we practice to be fully present with what is. This shift doesn't happen all at once, but gradually, as we recognize the futility of the seeking mind and taste the freedom of simply being. This perspective doesn't mean abandoning aspirations or efforts toward positive change. Rather, it suggests approaching such efforts from a place of fundamental completeness rather than lack. We act not to fill a hole in ourselves, but as an expression of our already present wholeness. The path of not seeking also involves a radical acceptance of our present experience, whatever it may be. Instead of constantly evaluating our practice in terms of progress or attainment, we meet each moment freshly, without imposing expectations or judgments. This acceptance isn't passive resignation, but a clear-eyed recognition of reality as it is, the necessary starting point for any authentic response. Perhaps most challenging of all, the path of not seeking requires us to let go of the very identity of being a spiritual seeker or practitioner. As long as we think of ourselves as Zen students working toward enlightenment, we subtly reinforce the separate self-sense that practice aims to see through. True practice happens when even the identity of practitioner drops away, leaving just this moment in all its suchness. As one Zen saying puts it, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. The activities don't change, but our relationship to them transforms completely when we stop seeking something beyond this moment and discover the completeness that was never absent. The many faces of Zen practice. While meditation is the heart of Zen practice, there are many other forms through which Zen wisdom can be cultivated and expressed. These diverse practices accommodate different temperaments and life circumstances while pointing to the same fundamental realization. Despite Zen's reputation for minimalism, traditional Zen monasteries incorporate extensive chanting and ritual into daily practice. These elements aren't viewed as ways to petition external forces, but as embodied expressions of awakened mind. Chanting sutras, Buddhist scriptures, or dharanis, sacred phrases, engages the body and breath in a way that can quiet discursive thinking and cultivate single-pointed attention. The rhythmic quality of group chanting creates a sense of harmony and shared purpose that supports individual practice. Rituals like offering incense, bowing, walking meditation, and ceremonial meals bring mindfulness into physical movement. They create a container of form within which we can observe our reactions, resistance, preference, boredom, enthusiasm, and practice meeting each moment with equanimity. For lay practitioners outside monastery walls, even simple rituals like lighting a candle before meditation or performing a small bow before sitting can help create a transition from everyday concerns to contemplative awareness. In Zen monasteries, work is not separate from meditation, but an integral part of practice. Whether cooking, cleaning, gardening, or maintaining buildings, each task is approached with the same attentive presence as formal sitting meditation. This integration of work and practice dissolves the artificial boundary between spiritual activities and ordinary life. It challenges the tendency to seek special experiences in meditation while remaining distracted or disconnected during practical tasks. Through work practice, we learn to bring full awareness to activities that might otherwise be done on autopilot. We discover that any activity approached with mindfulness can reveal the same insights as formal meditation. Zen has profoundly influenced many traditional Japanese arts, including calligraphy, painting, poetry, flower arrangement, ikebana, garden design, and the tea ceremony. These arts aren't considered mere hobbies or aesthetic pursuits, but genuine paths of awakening. In Zen arts, technical mastery is necessary, but not sufficient. The true aim is to move beyond technique to spontaneous expression that emerges when the separate self momentarily drops away. This is captured in the concept of controlled accident, creating conditions where something unexpected and authentic can emerge. For example, in Zen calligraphy, the practitioner might spend years mastering brush techniques. But the most powerful calligraphy happens when the calligrapher no longer thinks about technique and instead becomes one with the brush, ink, and paper. What emerges reflects not personal expression, but the direct, unmediated movement of life itself. Similarly, the tea ceremony integrates precise forms with natural spontaneity. Every movement and arrangement is carefully considered. Yet the ultimate aim is to create an atmosphere where both host and guest can experience the simple wonder of sharing tea together, beyond all separation. While Zen is often associated with sitting still in meditation, various forms of mindful movement can also be powerful vehicles for practice. Traditions like Tai Chi, Qigong, and certain forms of yoga share with Zen an emphasis on present moment awareness, breath coordination, and the unity of body and mind. Even conventional exercise like running, swimming, or hiking can become Zen practice when approached with mindful attention rather than goal-oriented striving. The key is bringing awareness to physical sensations, breath, and the immediate environment, while letting go of mental commentary and judgments. For some practitioners, body-centered practices provide a more accessible entry point than seated meditation. This is particularly true for those who experience strong restlessness or anxiety when sitting still, or for whom embodied awareness comes more naturally than abstract contemplation. While Zen emphasizes direct experience over intellectual understanding, the study of Buddhist texts and dialogue with teachers and fellow practitioners play an important role in the tradition. Study provides conceptual maps that can orient practice and help avoid common pitfalls and misunderstandings. In traditional Zen training, students study sutras, Buddha's discourses, shastras, commentaries, and recordings of encounters between Zen masters and their students. This study isn't aimed at accumulating knowledge, but at recognizing pointers to direct experience and clarifying the path of practice. Dialogue with teachers, whether in formal settings like private interviews, dokusan, or in casual conversations, allows for direct interaction with someone who embodies the teaching. The teacher doesn't simply impart information, but creates conditions where the student can experience insight. Group discussion, Dharma discussion, provides opportunities to articulate one's understanding, learn from others' perspectives, and recognize common patterns in practice. By hearing how others work with similar challenges, we gain fresh insights into our own experience. Increasingly, Zen practitioners are exploring forms of engaged practice that explicitly connect meditation with social action. This approach recognizes that inner transformation and social transformation are interdependent. Neither is complete without the other. Engaged practice might involve applying Zen principles to activism for environmental protection, social justice, peace, or other causes. It emphasizes bringing the qualities cultivated in meditation, presence, compassion, non-reactivity, and clear seeing into challenging collective issues. Rather than seeing social engagement as a distraction from real practice, this approach recognizes that how we respond to suffering in the world is a crucial test and expression of our understanding. If meditation doesn't lead to greater compassion and skillful action, something is missing in our practice. The diverse forms of Zen practice reflect the tradition's adaptability and pragmatism. What matters isn't the specific form, but the quality of awareness brought to it. Any activity approached with full presence and openness can become a vehicle for awakening. Common misconceptions about Zen. As Zen has traveled from east to west and entered popular culture, various misconceptions have arisen about its nature and practice. Clarifying these can help newcomers approach Zen with more accurate expectations. Misconception 1. Zen is about emptying the mind. Perhaps the most common misconception is that the goal of Zen meditation is to empty the mind of all thoughts. This leads many beginners to feel frustrated when they can't stop thinking, assuming they're bad at meditation. In reality, Zen practice isn't about suppressing or eliminating thoughts, but about changing our relationship to thinking. We learn to see thoughts as mental events arising and passing in awareness, rather than as absolute truths or commands we must follow. The aim isn't a blank mind, but a spacious awareness that isn't controlled by thought patterns. As Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki put it, leave your front door and your back door open. Allow your thoughts to come and go. Just don't serve them tea. Misconception 2. Zen is passive or detached. Another common misunderstanding is that Zen cultivates a state of passive detachment or indifference. Critics sometimes characterize Zen as promoting withdrawal from life's challenges and responsibilities. On the contrary, true Zen practice leads to greater engagement with life, not less. By releasing the anxious self-concern that normally constrains us, we become more fully available to whatever the moment requires. Zen masters are typically described as remarkably present, responsive, and alive, the opposite of detached or passive. What Zen does cultivate is non-attachment, which is quite different from detachment. Non-attachment means engaging fully with life without clinging to outcomes or experiences. It's like playing a game wholeheartedly while remembering that it's just a game. Misconception 3. Zen is anti-intellectual. Because Zen emphasizes direct experience over conceptual understanding, it's sometimes portrayed as anti-intellectual or dismissive of critical thinking. This misunderstanding is reinforced by stories of Zen masters responding to questions with seemingly nonsensical answers or physical actions rather than explanations. In truth, Zen doesn't reject intellect, but recognizes both its value and its limitations. Conceptual thinking is a useful tool for navigating the relative world, but it can never capture the absolute. Zen masters might use unconventional methods to point beyond concepts, but this doesn't mean intellectual capacity is irrelevant. Many great Zen teachers were highly educated and intellectually sophisticated. They use their cognitive abilities skillfully while not being limited by conceptual frameworks. As Zen teacher Norman Fisher puts it, thinking is not the problem. The problem is thinking that thinking is all there is. Misconception 4. Zen is mystical or supernatural. Some portrayals of Zen emphasize mysterious experiences, special powers, or supernatural insights. This can create the impression that Zen practice leads to mystical states unavailable to ordinary people. While profound experiences may indeed occur in Zen practice, they're not the point. Zen is fundamentally about waking up to the reality of this moment, not escaping into altered states. It's about seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary rather than seeking something beyond ordinary experience. As the Zen saying goes, the ultimate miracle is not walking on water or through fire. The ultimate miracle is walking on the earth. The most profound realization in Zen is not some exotic experience, but the direct recognition of the wonder of ordinary reality when seen clearly. Misconception 5. Zen is a quick fix. In our instant gratification culture, meditation is sometimes marketed as a quick solution to stress, anxiety, or unhappiness. This creates unrealistic expectations about what Zen practice can offer, especially in the short term. While meditation can indeed provide immediate benefits, like relaxation or temporary calm, the deeper transformations that Zen points to typically unfold gradually through consistent practice over time. There may be moments of sudden insight, but integrating these insights into daily life is usually a longer process. Zen is better understood as a lifelong path of exploration than as a technique for quick results. The question isn't, what will I get from this? But rather, am I willing to show up consistently and engage with whatever arises? Misconception 6. Zen is worship of the Buddha. Some people mistakenly assume that Zen Buddhists worship the Buddha as a god or divine figure. They may be confused by the presence of Buddha statues in Zen centers or the ritualistic elements of Zen practice. In Zen, the Buddha is not viewed as a deity to be worshipped, but as a human being who discovered and exemplified the potential for awakening that exists in all of us. Bowing to Buddha images isn't worship in the Western religious sense, but an expression of gratitude and a recognition of our own Buddha nature. As one Zen saying provocatively puts it, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. This doesn't advocate violence, but warns against turning the Buddha into an object of attachment or worship. The true Buddha isn't the historical figure or any image, but the awakened nature of reality itself. By clarifying these misconceptions, we can approach Zen with more accurate expectations and a clearer understanding of what the practice actually offers. Rather than an escape from life, Zen provides a way to enter more fully into life as it is. Practical guidance for beginners. If you're inspired to explore Zen practice for yourself, here are some practical suggestions for getting started. Start small. Rather than trying to establish an ambitious meditation schedule right away, begin with short, regular periods of practice. Even 5 or 10 minutes of sitting each day is valuable. Consistency matters more than duration, especially in the beginning. Find a time that works with your schedule and make it as routine as brushing your teeth. Many people find that meditating first thing in the morning, before the day's activities begin, helps establish a consistent practice. Create a supportive environment. Designate a specific place for meditation if possible, a corner of a room where you can place a cushion or chair. This doesn't need to be elaborate. Even a simple cushion in a quiet spot can serve as your practice place. Some people find it helpful to create a small altar with objects that remind them of their intention to practice, perhaps a candle, flower, or meaningful image. This isn't about worship, but about creating visual reminders of what matters to you. Minimize potential distractions during your meditation time. Turn off phones and notifications, and let others in your household know that you need some uninterrupted time. Learn basic posture. For seated meditation, you can use a cushion on the floor, zafu, a bench, or a chair. The key elements of posture are: keep your spine relatively straight, but not rigid. Imagine your head being gently pulled upward, lengthening your spine. Allow your shoulders to relax and drop away from your ears. Place your hands in a comfortable position, either on your thighs or in your lap. If sitting on a cushion, cross your legs in a way that feels stable. If using a chair, place both feet flat on the floor. Keep your eyes slightly open with a soft gaze downward, about 3 to 4 feet in front of you. This helps prevent both drowsiness and distraction. Explore different postures to find what works for your body. There's no single correct way to sit. What matters is finding a position that allows for alertness and comfort. Start with breath awareness. A simple and effective way to begin meditation is to focus attention on the natural rhythm of your breathing. You're not trying to control or change your breath, just observing it with curious attention. You might notice the sensations of breathing at the nostrils, chest, or abdomen, wherever the breath is most easily felt. When your mind wanders, which it will repeatedly, gently bring attention back to the breath without judgment or frustration. This simple practice of returning attention to the breath over and over cultivates both concentration and kindness toward yourself. Consider finding a teacher or group. While it's possible to begin Zen practice on your own, connecting with an experienced teacher or practice community, Sangha, can provide valuable guidance and support. A teacher can offer personalized instruction, help clarify confusion, and point out blind spots in your practice. A group provides the encouragement of practicing with others who share similar aspirations. There's something powerful about sitting in silence together that isn't easily replicated in solitary practice. Look for Zen centers, Buddhist temples, or meditation groups in your area. Many now offer online options as well, making it possible to connect with teachers and communities regardless of location. Integrate mindfulness into daily activities beyond formal sitting meditation. Look for opportunities to bring mindful awareness into everyday activities. Choose one routine activity, like washing dishes, brushing teeth, or walking to the car, and practice doing it with full attention. Notice the sensations, movements, and even thoughts that arise during these activities. When you catch yourself on autopilot, gently return to present moment awareness. This integration of mindfulness into daily life helps bridge the gap between formal practice and the rest of your experience. Be patient and kind with yourself. Perhaps the most important advice for beginners is to approach practice with patience and self-compassion. Progress in meditation isn't linear, and you'll inevitably encounter periods of restlessness, boredom, or frustration. These challenging experiences aren't signs of failure but natural parts of the practice. Each time you notice your mind wandering and gently return to the present, you're strengthening the muscle of awareness, even if it doesn't feel like progress in the moment. Remember that Zen is not about achieving some special state or becoming a different person. It's about meeting your actual experience with awareness and kindness, whatever that experience may be. Keep it simple. As you continue in practice, you may encounter various techniques, teachings, and traditions. While exploration can be valuable, there's wisdom in keeping your practice simple, especially in the beginning. The essence of Zen practice is remarkably straightforward. Show up, pay attention, and meet what arises with awareness and compassion. Everything else is elaboration. As Zen master Shunryu Suzuki famously said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's there are few." Approach practice with this beginner's mind, open, curious, and free from fixed ideas about what meditation should be or what you should experience. As we draw our exploration of Zen Buddhism to a close, it's worth reflecting on the continuous, ever-unfolding nature of the path. Unlike pursuits with clear endpoints or achievements, Zen practice is never finished or completed. It's a lifelong journey of discovery and transformation. This open-ended quality can be challenging for minds conditioned to seek closure and accomplishment. We naturally want to know if we're making progress, if we're getting it right, if we're approaching some final goal. Zen gently but persistently undermines these very questions. As the 13th century Japanese Zen master Dogen wrote, "If you cannot find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it?" This teaching points to the immediacy and accessibility of what we're seeking. It's not something distant to be attained after years of practice, but the very nature of this moment when seen clearly. Yet for most of us, this clear seeing doesn't happen all at once. We get glimpses, moments of unusual clarity or presence, followed by the familiar fog of habitual thinking and reactivity. The practice is to notice both the clarity and the fog with the same accepting awareness, neither clinging to special experiences nor rejecting ordinary ones. Over time, something shifts. The boundaries between practice and the rest of life begin to dissolve. We find ourselves bringing the same quality of attention to washing dishes as to formal meditation. We notice how reactive patterns that once seemed inevitable now have a little space around them, room for choice rather than automatic response. These changes may be so subtle that others notice them before we do. A friend might comment that we seem more present in conversation, less reactive to criticism, or more at ease in challenging situations. Often it's in relationship that the fruits of practice become most apparent. As our exploration of Zen Buddhism comes to a close, it's time to allow your body and mind to drift toward peaceful sleep. Let the concepts and stories we've explored settle gently in your awareness, without any effort to remember or understand them. Trust that what's most valuable will remain with you, even as conscious thought relaxes into the embrace of sleep. The wisdom of Zen isn't something to be grasped intellectually but absorbed naturally, like rain soaking into the earth. As you rest, allow yourself to simply be without effort or striving. This effortless being is itself a taste of what Zen points to, the peace that's present when we stop rushing, stop trying to become something different, and allow ourselves to rest in natural awareness. Feel the weight of your body supported by the bed or surface beneath you. Notice the rhythm of your breathing, naturally flowing in and out without your conscious control. Listen to any sounds in your environment without labeling or judging them, just pure hearing. As thoughts arise, perhaps reflecting on what you've heard or planning for tomorrow, or wandering to unrelated matters, simply notice them with gentle awareness. No need to follow them or push them away. Like clouds in the sky, they can drift through the spaciousness of your awareness without disturbing its fundamental tranquility. In these moments before sleep, you're practicing what Zen calls non-doing, not actively trying to accomplish anything, not even trying to fall asleep. This letting go of effort creates the optimal conditions for deep, restorative rest. As you continue to relax, you might notice subtle sensations throughout your body, areas of tension gradually releasing, warmth or coolness, tingling or pulsing. These sensations aren't problems to be fixed, but simply part of your living experience in this moment. Meet them with the same gentle awareness you've been cultivating. Remember that sleep itself is a natural process requiring no effort on your part. Your body knows perfectly well how to sleep. You only need to create the conditions for this natural wisdom to express itself. By releasing conscious control and surrendering to the body's innate intelligence, you allow sleep to emerge organically. If you find that sleep doesn't come easily tonight, that's perfectly okay too. Even lying in restful awareness provides significant benefits for body and mind. Rather than struggling against wakefulness, you can rest in the peace of simply being, without adding the additional stress of worrying about sleep. In traditional Zen, there's a practice called sleeping Zen, where practitioners maintain a thread of awareness even as they drift into sleep. This isn't about controlling the sleep process, but about allowing awareness to gently accompany you into the dream world, creating a continuity of presence between waking and sleeping states. As we conclude, I invite you to let go completely of concepts, of effort, of any need to understand or remember anything from our exploration. Simply rest in the silent awareness that is reading these words, that is feeling your body, that is hearing sounds, that is always present beneath the surface of changing experience. May your sleep be deep and restorative, and may you wake refreshed, carrying the quiet insight of Zen into your new day, not as something separate from ordinary life, but as the very ground of being from which all experience arises. Good night, and thank you for joining me on this journey through the heart of Zen Buddhism, the religion of no religion. the path that is no path, leading to the destination that was never absent. Rest well in the peace that is your true nature.